Hi, Sebastian and Dominique. Thanks for joining me on this Cannabis Industry podcast. Could you tell me a little bit about you and how you started your personal career? And let's start with Dominic.
Dominique van Gruisen. I Belgian national. I live in Belgium, but I work in the Netherlands, and I've been in the cannabis industry for the last 16 years. I started out, as a hobbyist, and through some activism, got into bigger circles of more professional companies. Spent some time in the US doing some consultancy on setting up production facilities. Then went on to spend time in biotech pharma, focused on cannabinoid-based medicines, trained in GMP, got a biomedical background. And in 2021, I co-founded the company Innexo, which is essentially a contract research organization focusing on cannabis specifically. So that's very short my history.
Okay, and you, Sebastian?
Yeah, so I'm Sebastian Olschowski, and I'm a horticultural scientist. I work for Fluence now since 2017 as a research project manager for the region EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And what I'm doing here is I'm conducting internal and external research projects with partners like Innexo, for example. And I also have experience with various kind of crops like cucumbers, pepper, leafy greens, and of course cannabis. And I was always interested in plants already as a child, so I decided after finishing school to make my passion a profession and studied horticultural science. And now I live in Munich, in Germany, but I work, more or less in the entire EMEA region.
Okay, and you are a research manager. Can you explain to me a little bit more about Fluence's research program, what Fluence is focusing on, and why is it so important?
Yes, sure. So currently, our research team consists of 5 people, including one of our interns. And we are so our headquarters is based in Austin, where, most of the people are located. And I am the one person in Europe at the moment. And the goal of our program in the end is to provide reliable and objective results, for example, about yield and morphological changes, but also about the quality of the plants we produce and we work with under different light conditions. So in the end, the overall performance of the plant is what is interesting for us. And as light is our core competence, we also focus on this mostly, but we take into account all the other parameters because light is not the only factor driving plant growth, but there is more like temperature, humidity, CO2 levels. So all this works together, and we try to understand how everything works and how it affects plant growth. And one of our bigger parts is to also do science communication. So Fluence believes that science is important and sharing the knowledge is even more important. And for us, it's a good thing to share and inspire people with what we have done so far. And we are doing this via scientific publications, via blog articles, also in social media, and specific webinars for growers, for example.
Okay, and Dominic, what Sebastian just said pretty much to be what you're offering. So how did you two get together?
For my motivations to be in the cannabis industry, it's actually my grandfather. He had Parkinson's, and I saw firsthand what the disease was doing to him, debilitating him. He was on a cocktail of various different medications, and coincidentally, I came across cannabis, and I found it a very interesting plant because there were all these, you know, um, people talking about how cannabis can help with the quality of life of people, and like in case of Parkinson's specifically, limited tremors. So I dug into that, and I found indeed there was already emerging clinical evidence that certain cannabinoids could be helpful in like treating Parkinson's disease, delaying the progression of symptoms, decreasing the severity of symptoms and improving quality of life. So, I think that I thought that, okay, this is a good thing to maybe try with my grandfather. And turn off after long debates in the family, because not everybody was agreeing to this. He tried the cannabis, and it was one of the most amazing things that I've ever seen. The fast onset of the decrease in his tremors, for example, was mind-boggling. So I decided just to really delve deeper into this, and it was like going down a rabbit hole. So when I went to the US in 2012, there were a lot of old school growers popping up in Colorado, and where it was first really fully legalized. And I got in touch with a neuroscientist, a doctor who was starting his cannabis company. And they brought me over to help them establish their facility, do the most important hires and stuff like that. But also look at technology and how we could move away from the normal standard lights, the high pressure sodium lights. So we tested a bunch of different LED lights from different manufacturers. I think about 16 different LEDs that were already on the market then, but nothing really stood out. So they resorted back to simple high pressure sodium, and I got on to various other activities in cannabis, and then I went to head a production team myself, and then we had the same discussion. How can we improve on the technologies that are being used to cultivate cannabis? Because it's very important that cannabis, when it's used for medical purposes, has a constant composition and a consistent composition of its chemical components. So a patient can find their dose and not overdose or underdose to get clinically significant results. So around that time, I got in touch with Fluence. I met Timo, who's the general manager in the EMEA region for Fluence, and the vision just clicked, And unfortunately for that production company, biotech production company, it didn't work out to do something together. And as soon as I left my job there, and it was visible on my LinkedIn profile that I quit my job and moved on to something else, I got a call from Timo. He called me, say, okay, I see you quit your job. So what are you doing in cannabis right now? Are you still involved in something? And then I told him that I had set up my own company, which was to focus on helping, leading companies, technology companies, but also breeders and licensed producers to, test out technologies and help with product development, innovation, new strategies, really focusing on the research side. And then he said, well, that's exactly what we need, because we have several different ideas on product innovation to help with improving the quality of cannabis. So Timo got me in touch with Sebastian, who is a great research manager, and I love talking to him. And we decided to team up and formulate the research questions and come up with a plan to really help Fluence advance their innovations. Because we are not a producer, we are an independent contractor, so to speak. It means that we are not colored by any preconceived notions or have any biases. We try to focus on research and get clear results with a research project. So that's when the ball started rolling for us to team up and to partner, essentially, and that's what we've been doing ever since.
Okay, and now coming from Sebastian.
Yeah, so that is very, very well phrased, Dominic, how you put it together. So also when Timo got us in touch, I was very, very happy to talk to Dominic the first time, and we had a lot in common, and I had the feeling right in the beginning that we are philosophically aligned with what we want to reach and our goals for doing science together and commercially relevant science is really something what Innexo and Fluence wanted to do. So that was a great fit. And as Dominic mentioned, like Fluence is doing also other research in cannabis. So next to the academic research, what we did together, we also have grower trials. But there, for example, you also have the risk for growers that they need to compromise on yield maybe, or any other methods they're using, because when we do research project, as mentioned in the beginning, we want to create reliable results. So that means that we have to set up the projects in a very certain way. For example, we need to have technical replicates, at least 3, better 4, to do statistics, and we need to steer the climate in a very accurate way. We need to provide irrigation and fertilizer in a certain way, and need to make sure that everything is totally controlled and really done in the best way you can. And after talking to Dominic the first time, I immediately knew, okay, he is a guy who knows how to drive all this. So we started to think about what to do next and how to set up a project.
And that wasn't really easy, because Fluence is a very innovative company, and so their demands are pretty high. So we spent about a year trying to formulate a research question and come up with a research plan. And when we look as an Innexo at a research question, we try to get the basics right from the beginning. So we have research greenhouses that are licensed. We have climate rooms where we do like dirty R&D stuff, like with insects and molds and stuff like that, and very state-of-the-art controlled agricultural climate rooms. And getting the research question paired up with the facilities that we have, and the potential that we have to create or select different plant varieties that would suit the research question best, that seemed to be a great fit. And when we were working about a year to get this trial going, all these kind of different things need to fall into place. And that's why it's great to have teamed up with Fluence, because it's not only just about research, it's about the experience together and the journey we go on together. And so the planning took us about a year. The trial was a bit shorter, but that's how it goes with cannabis.
The planning phase was really, really exciting, I have to say. And it was not only Dominic and me talking about it, but we involved our horticulture service team, especially when we pre-selected the cultivars for the experiment. Dominic gave us a selection of what he thinks is a good fit for the project, and we discussed it with our cannabis specialists in the USA and also in Europe, and we're going back and forth what would be the best option, because we cannot test all the cultivars. That would have been far too much. But in the end, we found a very good way to represent what is commercially done in medical cannabis grows in general. So we figured out 2 cultivars and started with it. And also, yeah, all the technical things we had to solve with our technical department about electricity consumption, how to hang the fixtures, how to optimize the light distribution. There was really, yeah, it was a lot what we had to think about and to plan.
Yeah, and to jump in on this, what Sebastian was saying by selecting these different cultivars. I mean, sure, you have your cultivars that you look at, but it's very important to have them profiled. And what I mean by that is, I need to go in a research trial, not blind, but knowing all the limits of my cultivars that I'm growing for the research. And that means like first selecting, of course, the kind of varieties that you would like, do some phenotyping on that, and then do pressure testing. So grow these cultivars that we've selected already in a harsh environment to see how they handle drought, mechanical stresses, like pruning or topping, how they handle botrytis infection, for example, because that is a common problem in the Netherlands, that some varieties that are being used in trials are not always that suited for the humid environment in the Netherlands. So we want to know, how fast can a cultivar develop botrytis, bud rot, for example, and how long after we see the first signs of infection do we have until we need to terminate the trial, for example. Because bringing the trial to a successful end and have data collected that has meaning, that's so important. So just to give clarification on what it means by what we do with our selection of the right cultivars and pressure testing them.
Also for the data collection, that is or was and is a very, very important point for us as Fluence, because we need it in a granularity what growers usually cannot do in their day-to-day business. They produce for yield, for quality, and we do this as well, but we need to analyze it in a way what most people don't even think about when I think to the analysis of all the different parameters like plant height, and so that's relatively easy still. But when it comes down to analyzing the inflorescences, the buds of the cannabis in the end in different strata, so top, middle, bottom, individually, for like 10 plants or even more per treatment, that is something what not every research partner can do. But Innexo had experience with that, and we did a great project there together.
To give you an idea about those data points that Seb was talking about, we're talking about thousands and thousands of data points. So like a cannabis trial would last about 3 months, something like that. But the data collection is a part of that, but still continues on for at least 3 months after the trial. So to get everything up, filled in, there are no gaps that we look at, such a degree of detail. That was amazing. That was an amazing experience, amazing complex project, and I look very much forward to seeing the results published by Fluence.
When I think about the entire project now, so we had this planning phase of over a year, then we had the fun part with growing the plants, and now we have the very intense part of analyzing the data. Yeah, a lot of time and effort goes in such a project.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm learning a lot here. And do you have any idea when you're going to be publishing the results?
Yeah, so we are currently evaluating the latest data points, and I think we will finish it around within the next 3 3 months, I think. So in Q3, I think we have something what we can present to the public latest, maybe a little bit earlier.
Okay. Seems also like quite a big project with quite some costs involved, no?
Yes. So research is always very, very cost intense, and it's always tailor made. So for cannabis research, for example, there are some specific things what are cost effective. On the one hand, it's electricity, and especially in the latest or in the last few months, electricity cost have gone up a lot. So that makes one big factor. And on the other hand, we are using a lot of light when working with cannabis compared to tomatoes or lettuce, for example. We use like 4 times the light intensity, at least. So that is one big factor. And another big factor is chemical analysis, for example. That's also something what is not done or not very often done with other crops. And of course, administrative costs, security costs. So all this is going together and ending up in quite a amount of money. And it also, as we just discussed a little bit, the number of data points we are taking, that also can make a big difference. So, for example, if you let me think. If you want to know the final height of the plant and you just measure it in the end, then you have a few data points and a little bit of labor you have to put in there. But if you, for example, want to have a weekly measurement or even a daily measurement, how plant growth develops over time, and this costs more labor, and with that also the price increases. Just as an example.
Yeah, and to chime in on that is that, you know, it's so sad that costs for research are what they are. You know, as Innexo, we try to be as cost efficient as possible because we want to really help innovators and innovative companies get further and do research, because there's still so much left to do in the cannabis field. And for some companies that, you know, don't have that much capital like a large corporation like Fluence has, or a defined research budget, for example, a yearly research budget, then that can be quite expensive to do. And, you know, that's also, I think, why we came up with a way to lower the threshold for companies that want to do research in cannabis or dip their toes in or gather some data, that we've developed this API platform. So the acceleration platform for innovation is essentially a model wherein even the smallest companies can have the opportunity to do research, to gather data, to put product development on the map, and we help them with that. So we unburden them, we take care of everything, we provide them with data points, a report, you know, and all the while they can come in and check on the current events, how everything is going, how their research is going, you know, and it's not, you know, it's something that we do together. So we design together with the client, we design a trial design. We take care of all the setups of the plans. We take care of all the measurements. And at the end of the line, it is very important that research is stimulated. And if the costs are prohibitive and only accessible to, you know, the top companies, a lot of innovative smaller companies, startups or scale-ups that have technology that can be used to, you know, impact the quality of cannabis, lower energy costs or whatever, you know, those companies deserve a chance, an opportunity to collect the data and to further their innovations. and also to have a little bit more visibility of their product. It's one thing to be at a trade show to talk about your product. It's a whole other thing if you are doing research trials and you can showcase your innovation and have your customers or your partners or whoever experience what your technology can mean for this crop. And I always use like this crop for an extension, because actually we mean patience. That's the most important thing that this crop can do. And if you're a company out there and you have technology that can help improve the crop so it can improve patients' lives, we would like to hear from you. And there's an opportunity with this platform that we are doing, where, by the way, is partnering. So we need reliable partners, because we think the basic technology where the big guys can help the smaller ones move the needle of this industry forward. That's a great thing. Then you've got cooperation. Then you got new partnerships being made. We are all in this together, and education is also an important issue, and Fluence is great with that. So it was just logical that Fluence would be our lighting partner for our platform.
Yeah, I 100% agree, Dominic, and we want to unlock effects of light and share the knowledge, and with participating in this API, so we enable other parties as well to investigate and answer their research questions beyond light, but light is one of the necessary factors. And with that, we contribute to the overall movement of medical cannabis research. And I just can encourage everyone to reach out and see if participation is possible and helpful.
Okay, so I think we're kind of finishing up here, but I do have some questions for you both still. Specifically, where do you see the future going for cannabis? And maybe because we're all based around the Netherlands, Germany, focus on these, and where do you see the research in cannabis going in the future? Maybe Dominic first.
Cannabis for the future is technology, and automation is going to be play a really big role in the future of cannabis cultivation. So what we see right now, for example, is stuff is being done with AI. There are sensors being developed that can, for example, like measure the cannabinoids in the living plant. It's all about the technology and the developments, the new varieties that will be developed for the pharmaceutical usage. That's going to be huge in the next 5 years. And also, one important thing that we have not talked about, but is also very important, that producer companies, they will face what we see now in North America happening. They will face decreasing margins as more and more countries come online and get a program going and license growers. So growers and producers need to be as lean as possible. And what I see already happening in the market is that they are increasingly thinking about outsourcing stuff that can risk their operations, like R&D, for example. You don't want to, as a producer, you don't want to investigate, do a botrytis trial on site because it can harm your normal production. They can have opportunities to outsource all of that. So producers going to be focusing more on technology, going to be focusing more on costs involved in production, reducing labor costs, reducing electricity costs, find varieties, for example, that can handle high humidities, so they don't have to overcapacitate their HVAC system, their air treatment system for their facilities, and so on. So there's a lot of positivity in the atmosphere, but still, with countries like Germany trying to move ahead with the recreational legalization. They do this by means of social clubs and home growing. Even then, it's very important that if these social clubs decide to grow the cannabis for customers, that they get in touch with innovative players that can help them with their question, deliver their technologies, perform tests with them, and that's where I see it's going. It's going to be more research involved in cannabis over the next 5 years.
And now the same questions for Sebastian.
Yeah, so I agree with what Dominic is saying, especially when it comes to technology. So there will be improvements in the coming year, I think, and for the medical cannabis production, I see still quality and consistent quality, especially, still as a big thing where a lot of research can be done, because we are still working with a living organism, the cannabis plant in the end, and the patients need a consistent quality. So that is one important thing, and that can be light can have an effect on that. We know that. So I think that is something what definitely in the future will be still investigated in, but also in general testing other innovative cultivation methods, like Dominic said about energy saving strategies. This will become more and more important. And let me think. I think in general, standardizing research is something what we need to do in cannabis. There are some other great researchers out there working with cannabis and following more or less the same approach, of course, with their own goals. But I think a well-established network will change the research in the coming years much more. What I could imagine, especially when more countries open up for medical, but also for recreational cannabis, maybe research will become a little bit easier, and we can do something like a ring test in the future, where you have different locations all over Europe or the world even, and test cannabis growing in different environmental conditions, like in a greenhouse, indoor, under different temperatures, and increase the amount of data points we can get and learn much more about this plant and how to optimize the growth. So that's where I think it can go.
Yeah, it looks like we're going ahead with a very green future. Before we finish up, is there maybe something that we forgot to talk about and that you still want to say?
Main message is that however small a company you are, if you have innovation, you need to work together with other companies to bring out the best of that. And cannabis deserves that. It's been understudied for too long. There's such an exciting time to be alive, to be a part of this. Getting to know a medical plant like cannabis, and in the way we do already know with tomatoes or cucumbers. It's still a long road ahead, but it's coming, and I'm very excited about that. So that's all I got. All I want to add.
And for you, Sebastian?
I think everything was covered. Well said, Dominic. I agree with you. So no additional points from my side.
Well, then I want to thank you both very much for joining me on the Cannabis Industry podcast, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Mauro. Likewise.
So, you'll find me.